then they lock in Syndra. So anyways, Splyce now on the blue side. A little bit more targeted ban priority maybe. And they've taken off Jhin and Jace. Sencux looking real chill right now, and LeBlanc from Giants.
Remember that Jhin did get some very small nerfs on this patch to his ultimate, so that the slow is a little less impactful. But the fact that Splyce, this is the second time that they banned it away from HeaQ. They want to take him off that champion. They want to try and put him onto something perhaps he's not as comfortable on. And that's not to say that he had a bad Ashe game, but he definitely wasn't given room to succeed.
Yeah, I mean, those Ashe arrows never really became impactful. We only saw them really thrown during team fights. We didn't see any pick potential thrown off elsewhere. If you are just joining us, we are playing a patch 7.4. As you can see at the top of your screen, this is also the hot fix version of Edge of Night. Sencux had a comfortable game on Syndra. Game was won around him. Wunder on Gnar had a fantastic performance.
Gravity is angry at Sencux right now. But regardless, even with Gravity against him, he was able to have a successful performance on the Syndra. His high pressure in mid made him, enabled him to roam around with Trashy, so they were able to get some good deep vision. And I'm super happy that we're seeing so much less Corky QuickShot.
Yes.
The big nerfs on this patch really did force him out of the meta. We're seeing much more Orianna, and that's how we were able to get that fantastic Faker ultimate play. So I'm happy that she's now coming back a little bit more.
Of course, over in LCK, KT versus SKT was that play. This play, insta-lock on the Varus. Nearly no time to react. It is skyrocketed in value in terms of AD carry. Still just super powerful. Blind Rumble pick here for Flaxxish. Now, if it were a year ago or maybe more, Gnar with Hex Drinker into Rumble, that was something we've seen a few times. I'm only saying it because of how good Wunder's Gnar was and leaving the option available. Where do Giants go for the next pick?
Well, every single jungler is available on the board right now except for Rengar, so they could look to grab that early on. Instead, they've chosen to get their AD carry, so they're waiting for Trashy to throw the first card down, whether or not he goes for something like the Elise once more. He could go for Kha'Zix as well. Instead, he's going to stick to what works.
Yeah, glad to see. Trashy's Kha'Zix is not particularly impressive. He's played that champion 8 times, 5 wins, 3 losses, but his average damage compared to the world is very, very low. His Elise, he didn't really do a lot of damage in the last game, but that dive in the bottom lane to get the summoners, his pressure around the map and being able to push down the towers helped out. And Wunder, it's not the Gnar, but it is the Renekton, so going for another aggressive matchup.
So now I would like to see Memento bring out the Lee Sin. Let's see if you can match this sort of early game power. Okay, see now, like, Graves is not a bad jungler. Memento had a good performance on the Graves in game 1. He definitely scales very well, but I feel like he doesn't enable you to do very much in terms of setting up for the early game. Yes, you can trade effectively, but you have to have these strong laners. You have to have pushing lanes, and Renekton into Rumble, like, Rumble naturally does push, but once Renekton gets a couple of levels under his belt, once he comes back into lane with some magic resistance, then it becomes so much harder for the Rumble to play as aggressively as he would like. So I think that Giants, I want to see champions like the Karma again, right? I want to see this ability to shove in as aggressively as possible. Maybe go for an Azir for Knight as well, so that you just have that priority in the lanes to enable Memento to succeed in the early game.
Well, we'll see if Knight agrees, as well as the rest of Giants. It is a misfortune ban for Giants. That one a little bit surprising to me. There's no support locked in for Giants, so maybe removing a potential counter to what they want to run.
They could be looking towards a Zyra or a Malzahar. Hustlin has played a lot of Zyra, even after the changes that she did have to her plants. And it will give you a strong pushing lane, right? It is something that Giants could bring out if they wanted to try and match perhaps the Malzahar and Varus that could come out from Splyce.
Well, you mentioned the Zyra. 7 games played for Hustlin. It is his most played by a significant margin. And it looks like it's going to be the lock-in here. The last ban from Splyce was Cassiopeia, as well as the Rise. All right, where does Kobbe go? Sorry, Sencux go with his mid laner, knowing it's going to be blind. Sort of safe picks are available. Syndra, I guess, if it's still up.
Sencux could go for an Orianna or a Syndra, as you rightly said. Wow, that is surprising. Blind picking an Ekko and taking away the Karma. Oof. I think that, I mean, early on, Ekko does have some pretty powerful push, but it depends on who the matchup is. You can pick Orianna into it, but Assassins naturally do fairly well into Ori because of her low mobility. You're kind of, this is also a really good deterrent for Giants to pick the, yes!
Parkour, baby! Talon locked in.
I know how excited you are because you've been getting some great champions this week, QuickShot. But this is great because Giants did not want to pick Syndra into the Ekko. They're a little bit afraid to pick the Orianna into it, so they just said, you know what, screw it. Let's have an assassin off in the mid lane. Talon is going to be coming out. And oh boy, is this an exciting one. With the lethality changes, we already saw him come out in the LCK. BBQ Oliver's brought it out, and they actually had some fantastic success with it, but it is very much about roaming. We can talk a little bit more about it once we get into game, but the fact that Giants have brought this out, the backs are against the wall. Let's see what they can do with it.
Backs are against the wall. Giants are 1 win, 5 losses on the split. Currently, they are 0-6 when it comes to game 2s. Giants have not won a single game 2, all split long. Will Talon, being piloted by Knight, be the man that wins them their first game 2? There's your team compositions on screen. It is an assassin off in the mid lane. I mean, this is just DPS for days. Screw tankiness.
It's super snowbally in mid lane though, because if Ekko falls behind, then Talon's going to run away with the game. If Talon falls behind, then Ekko's going to run away with the game. I think, jungle impact is going to be really monumental in this matchup. Trashy, expectations were high of game 1. They're going to be even higher coming into game 2.
Ladies and gentlemen in Berlin and everyone watching around the world, put your hands together for the Blade's Shadow. Talon debuting in Giants' hands as they're down 0-1 against Splyce. Group B, team number 3, Splyce. They're looking to pick up a clean 2-0 with a slightly more traditional pick and ban. Use the term very loosely when I say slightly. This is, of course, Knight on this Talon, wearing the Samsung skin, no less.
So, given that Talon is locked in, I guess you want to talk about the AShe Zyra lane down bottom.
No.
No?
Not at all. Tell me about Talon. You're a pretend mid laner in solo queue. I've seen your play, it's not great, but I will defer to you because I don't know mid lane. What is Talon going to do?
Talon is all about roaming. He had a lot of changes. For those that don't know, the biggest change to Talon was the change to his E. It used to be a blink that would teleport him to an enemy target, and it even silenced them in the past. However, now it enables him to jump over different walls. So you can see all these different walls around the map, these things that you typically can't interact with. I'm sure our observers will show you some of them, but they're not difficult to spot. Talon can now maneuver over these, which gives him so much map mobility, and in team fights, it actually enables him to reposition extremely effectively, but he takes a lot of skill to fully utilize.
Yeah, and of course, a lot of communication with the team. If Knight is going to be using that parkour from his assassin's path over the wall, it means Giants cannot go in too early, they cannot go in too late. Got to be on the same page. What about mid lane trading now? Ekko being piloted by Sencux, that's a teleport flash into a flash ignite. What are we going to expect from this matchup?
Well, the big thing to note is that Sencux actually took one of the small raptors, which means he will get level 2 after this first clear. So Knight is already trying to get the push on, which means that he'll be able to get his level 2 once he's able to take a couple of the creeps away. But getting level 2 first is a big part of being able to win out in this assassin matchup.
Okay, so keep an eye on who goes aggressive at level 2. There we go. That was a jump from Knight. Flaxxish is overheating, burning down Wunder. Somewhat expected in the Rumble v Renekton matchup, and as we jump back to the mid lane, Knight just keeps raking over and over and over, pushing Sencux on the tower.
Now, another big change that happened to Talon was actually the change to his Q. So if he's a certain distance from his opponent, that is now his dash ability. That is now his gap closer to lock onto a target. And if you last hit with it, it actually gives you a bit of health and mana back. So you get a bit of sustain. It's great for last hitting during the laning phase, and it really does help with your pushing power and trading. But it makes it even more effective against melee opponents like assassins, like Ekko, because if he hits you within melee range, he gets a big crit off and is able to do a lot of damage. So this mid lane matchup is super exciting, but right now, all it's resulting in is Knight being able to get a lot of pressure down, and that's enabling Memento and Flaxxish to move in aggressively and try and steal away some of these kills.
Trying but failing, unfortunately, because Trashy was able to smite down that Sentinel, pick up the blue buff. And Memento and Flaxxish unable to secure anything. Somewhat as expected, the Varus Karma lane, shoving in and HeaQ taking a lot of damage at level 2. Look at that Mantra Q. That Soul Flare hurts. And Mikyx and Kobbe, for the time being, in a great position while Trashy's now invading into Giants jungle.
Now this is difficult for Giants because note that Sencux, while he was pushed under his tower for a long time, he's now actually got the push overnight, which means that this is just a jungle off right now. Ooh, and Memento, yeah, he just misses the smite. He's now going to be behind in levels as he loses 3 buffs. And now Flaxxish.
Wunder looked like he was losing the fight earlier, but turns it around at level 4. Very good damage, Flaxxish flashes away. Wunder really doesn't care. As soon as he gets a couple levels under his belt, as you so eloquently put it, Vedius, Renekton turns that one around.
He needs to be careful though. He could go for a dive. Actually, you know, the health pots. We probably should have talked about this. Flaxxish starting with cloth armor, a very old age build that you would often do into Renekton. He may very well go for either a very early Zhonya's or something that we've been seeing a lot of is the very early Ninja Tabi. Really is effective against these melee bruisers that love to get into your face. But that was such a close trade. The fact Wunder was just utilizing his very early level advantage to just rely on the bigger base stats that he had to win out on the trade.
Yeah, working in favor then of Wunder. 31 CS to 23 as Flaxxish lost some of those CS advantages in every single lane for Splyce. This is a good start at 5 minutes, and dare I say it, it's a worrying trend for Giants. You know, this team got outclassed in game 1, and after a really good showing in the early game last week against H2K, Giants, they just look a little bit sluggish today.
It's just kind of, the big thing about Giants in particular is that...
hold that thought. We're gonna have another very aggressive trade here.
He might kill Wunder.
Flaxxish is overheating Wunder, 200 HP, Flame Splitters burning him down. Where's the Electro Harpoon? The first one is flashed away from him. Blow for blow, round 1, 2, and 3, they just keep trading down in the bottom lane. Now Kobbe, he gets rooted, and Giants are able to escape. It's a 20 CS advantage thanks to this Varus Karma combination.
One of the reasons as to why Varus is banned a lot, he is very good at pushing and he's very aggressive, pairs very nicely up with the Karma too. But want to backtrack to that trade up top because Wunder this time was the over-aggressor. He thought that he could stay in lane a little bit longer than he should have. And one of the big things you have to respect about Rumble is when he's in that overheat mode, because his basic attacks do a surprising amount of damage, especially when you have such little magic resistance in the early game. So Wunder ends up burning his flash, and now both junglers are actually top side of the map. But notice in Trashy, he has that level advantage. This came from getting that 3-buff start at the beginning of the game and stealing away the camps from Memento. And this is the difference. This is what we've been wanting to see from Giants. Having pushing lanes and trying to take advantage of it as we see a bit of trading in mid.
Yeah, a lot of damage from that Z-Drive Resonance. The Sencux gets a speed boost and makes it out. Down low, but Chrono Break's available. There's a tower dive opportunity. Memento's nowhere near. Wunder throws down the Dominus. He goes in. Equalizer, not great to clear the wave, but Flaxxish simply cannot stand toe-to-toe. Well played dive by Trashy and Wunder.
Very clean from the Splyce duo. Trashy picking up those mobility boots to be able to get to top lane faster. Memento and Knight now trying to respond up in the top lane.
Oh, look for the parkour, look for the parkour. Knight's gonna come over the wall. He's gonna dash and dive. Where's the Shadow Assault? Throws that one down. Turns on to Trashy. Takes him out. And Sencux started the teleport but cancels it. Knight on the board.
Talon, baby, that's a lot of damage.
Yeah,
Trashy was not expecting that. Only having boots under your belt meant that you did not have anywhere near enough armor to deal with all that damage. But let's have a look at how the dive actually set up, because this was already set in motion very early on. Trashy knew he wanted to go for this dive. Flaxxish had no TP, and just the chain TC was beautiful. You have the original stun, followed up by the initial cocoon, and they have enough base damages between the two of them to be able to get that successful kill. But the rotation from Knight, very swift. His ability to make all those jumps just gives him so much map mobility.
It does, as long as the terrain is not on cooldown. That's what that red buff is, or debuff rather, as you can see. When Talon uses his E on one of those walls, at rank 1, it's a 160-second cooldown. It's a huge cooldown before he can jump over that wall again. And the man on your screen we're looking at right now, Memento, his Graves, picked up a good triple kill in game 1, but unfortunately wasn't able to convert any of that momentum.
But the reason why we bring this up is because we want to highlight that what you can see underneath is the average EULCS, the EU LCS average for junglers. And just in game 1, Memento was well above the average in many of his different instances. So he's been a big performer on Giants, but right now he can't help the bottom
That's
line.
a great cocoon from Trashy. HeaQ flashes over though. Mikyx forced to run defensively. Very good outplay. Here comes the Twilight. The jump over the wall. Looking for the engage. Shadow Assault is going to get used. Knight's looking for a kill onto Mikyx. Not going to find it yet. That's a well-timed exhaust. Defensive flashes and the roots find nobody. Patience from Giants, but Splyce survive.
Great exhaust from Mikyx to mitigate the burst damage from Knight. But you can see now all these map movements that Splyce are trying to set up. Knight is just very quick to respond. He's using this ability to just dip and dive over terrain. There's great pressure in the mid lane that he's not even getting punished for it. He's actually able to completely deny this dive from Splyce and keep the bottom lane of Giants alive.
All right, so Knight, 1-0. He's down a little bit of CS, but actually ahead in gold, thanks to the kill. Got an early set of Merc treads, obviously, against the CC from everyone. Everyone on Splyce. But no huge advantages in a single lane. It's just small advantages from top, middle, and bottom for Splyce. That is accruing in this 1,500 gold lead. They're slowly chipping away at every single lane.
And let's not forget that it was Knight who had the fantastic summer split. It was his debut performance. He was the strongest, or one of the strongest individuals on the lineup, earning himself Rookie of the Split. And this split, he hasn't been able to perform. He hasn't had that same level of performance. And the fact that he's able to bring out this Talon and is so far having a great game on it is just demonstrating that he still has that talent in it.
The problem for Giants is the rest of the team is not stepping up. Minus 25 CS in the top lane for Wunder. I said there wasn't a major advantage. I'm completely wrong. HeaQ's down 40 CS, there or thereabouts. But then that is the lane matchup, isn't it? That is somewhat what you expect with that Varus Karma combination, and Knight taking a time wind and a phase dive to the face. Well, he's forced out of lane a little bit as well.
This is why we were wondering why the Karma wasn't put in more value over the Zyra. I feel like when you pair it up with the Ashe, you'd have a lot more wave curve, especially against the Varus. But right now, Giants starting off the Dragon.
Insta-give Trashy? Can Knight insta-give Trashy? There's the Shadow Assault, and the answer is yes. He completely solo kills Trashy. Now Knight gonna Shadow Assault. Sorry, Assassin's Path over the wall. I've still got to remember the spell names. Kobbe's rooted down. Memento finishes off the Dragon and the Strangle Thorns. They throw Kobbe into the air. Memento looking for another kill, but not going to find it. Giants with the Dragon and 2 kills.
Giants might be losing in terms of pressure. They might be behind in gold, but they are able to win out on these fights. Knight's positioning and his ability to reposition is what is enabling them to constantly come out ahead, simply because he is killing a high-value target, and naturally, with the numbers advantage the Giants have, they're able to turn things around. Look, Splyce, they have no vision. They just want to try and contest the Dragon, and they know it's being started, and then Knight just comes out of nowhere, very quickly able to pop off, and you think that, oh no, he's going to lose his life. Nope. So much mobility enables him to just get out of harm's way.
And of course, teleports from both Flaxxish and Wunder in the top lane. Unfortunately, Wunder was overheating when he finished. No equalizer even available to him. And another objective taken down. This time it is the Dragon. So Splyce get first Tower Blood earlier in the game. Giants get first Dragon. And it is a scaling Dragon. And they've got champions that are going to scale exceptionally well. Rumble is going to do well. Graves is going to do well. Obviously, the pick power with Ashe Talon. And all of the squishies on Splyce. That's a scary combination.
The thing is, when you actually look at this composition from Giants, they actually have a great team fighting comp, and you would think, is Talon a really good team fighter? And just using that last fight as an example, yes, when he's given the opportunity to fight in these terrain-heavy environments, because it gives you a surprising number of dashes and repositioning tools that I keep harping on about because of how cool it is.
Goodbye, Flaxxish. You are surrounded by 3 members of Splyce, and will get slowly run down.
See, that's what you wish you could have parkour, right? Like, if you're in that situation, wouldn't it be great if you could just hop off of your little robot and just jump over a wall?
Yeah, but look at the vision. Unfortunately, he shouldn't have been on the robot in that part of the map in the first place.
That's very true. Trashy doing a good job of prioritizing, looking to take that early tower on the bottom lane. Giants yet to get themselves a structure off the map. It just comes back to Splyce really having the pressure advantage, even though Knight is doing what he can. He's just moving around the map more, cleaning up some of the plays that Splyce have tried to make, and they haven't actually been able to set up any themselves.
All right, flash for Kobbe, not even gonna get needed. Casually sidesteps. Actually on the player cam, HeaQ even scratched his chin, like, that did not go as intended.
Nope.
And this is a great example, thank you observers again, of vision. It really has been great vision toggles this week. I mean, there's not much to say, there is there, Vedius.
Nope. I mean, if you're Flaxxish, you just have to be aware, oh, do I have vision around the bottom side of the map? No. Where is my vision? Top side of the jungle. That would, you could make the argument that Giants are then looking to play towards the top lane, maybe get that tower. Flaxxish should have been a little bit more aware. He wasn't, and he ends up getting punished.
Well, listen, now one of our big stories coming into game 1 is how both of these teams struggle at 15 minutes. And that was over the averages from weeks 1 through 5. Splyce demolished that by having 4 and a bit thousand gold lead at 15 minutes. They're near that right now. Unfortunately for Giants, who have been down minus 1.5k on average, that average is going to go even lower thanks to these 2 games. They just really are not having a great time from the laning phase. But now they need to make this mid-game pick power with a little ward there. And some of that team fight coordination that you talked about earlier, Vedius. That's how Giants have to claw their way back in.
I mean, the biggest thing that I've noticed from watching Giants' games is the fact that they are actually very resilient. Even if you have this big deficit, which they do have a lot, funnily enough, they're still willing to fight. They're still willing to try and find windows back into the game. They will not be afraid to force a play simply because they are behind. And I think this is a great trait to have, because when you are so far behind, like, you can't be afraid. You can't just let the enemy team take everything off the board. And I think that with a composition the Giants have, they have the Ashe arrow, they have the Rumble ultimate, there are tools in their kit where they can try and look for picks.
Yeah, look at the tools in the mid lane. Memento hanging out behind that bush in the mid lane tower. Ashe arrow is available for HeaQ, but he's taking so much damage. If you look at the items, Edge of Night, Protobelt, Black Cleaver, Tiamat already completed for Splyce. The only person with a completed item is Knight in the mid lane. Flash away from Kobbe, he respects the engage. And now Giants need to stall even more, but they're just giving up too much. Wunder and Trashy have forced Flaxxish away. His flash was blown. Flaxxish is using his ultimate just to farm, just to try and stay relevant, and it's just crumbling around the edges.
And while we can praise Memento for being impactful in Giants games, you have to criticize his early game because he really isn't doing very much to support his laners. He could be sitting here with Flaxxish, just alleviating some of this pressure that Splyce has relentlessly thrown his way.
Well, flash forward from Wunder, Cocoon connects as well, and Flaxxish goes down. Really confident play. Wunder has had a great series, and he's been backed up by Trashy multiple times this game now.
And look, Knight's top lane. There's no way that they can even try and protect this inner tower for Giants. Memento now finally moving to the bottom half of the map. Just a little bit slow, and it just brings into question the communication that's happening within the Giants squad right now. Yeah. I just feel like that mentally they've already given up on this game.
It looks to be the case as Giants, they're starting to fall apart. The tower gets dropped thanks to Sencux and one last phase dive. And Giants, they've not even put any pressure on towers. This is, of course, Flaxxish. The flash, Ruthless Predator stun from Wunder.
Effective combo.
Flawless.
Reptile plus spider equals death, apparently. So if you walked into a bar and you saw a crocodile and a spider, what I would recommend is that you don't go near it.
I'd leave the bar.
Leave the bar?
On a personal level.
Whoa, hang on now. Whoa. Don't hurt the bar just because there are a crocodile and a spider there, dude, right? They might have great drinks.
They might. They might.
Don't let fear control your life, QuickShot.
Well, Flaxxish should let fear control his life.
He definitely should.
Not letting it happen means he has no more life. 0-4. Flaxxish has been outclassed by Wunder this series, both in game 1. AShe connects onto Mikyx. Where's the combo? Exhaust comes out. Mikyx will go down. Knight was able to get in there with the rake for a little bit of an assist, but out in the back end, now Trashy and Wunder are coming. Defensive flash over the wall from HeaQ. Knight, by some time, with the Shadow Assault, and with the help of Noxian Diplomacy, is going to get some damage down. They've traded a kill back and forth. It's junglers for jungler. Knight is able to escape with his life, but 1 for 2, not the greatest. Very good route from Hustlin. That at least will stop Wunder from getting involved any further, and even using the tower. A little bit of a classy jump out to safety. The tower falls, and Giants are running out of objectives to defend.
Giants, they wanted to just try and get some kind of objective. The mid lane was their priority. They tried to go for the dive. Yes, they get the collapse down onto Mikyx, but look at how much they invest into just getting the kill. And they have like such low damage. This is supposed to be a Karma. Takes all the damage from Memento, who gets exhausted up. Hustlin doesn't have the real support. They need Knight to come in as well. And you've invested all your gap closes, all your resources. This allows Splyce to get the collapse. Now, fortunately for Giants, they still had all of their flashes available. They were able to dip and dive and dodge out of the way. But the fact that Splyce did end up getting 2 kills because they killed Rumble down bottom and a tower in the bottom lane as well means that Splyce is the overall benefactor.
Giants committed to that play in a 4-man maximum, 15-second death timer for Flaxxish. He simply couldn't have joined. It was optimistic at best. You know, at the beginning of the series, Shox used a fantastic word, the quintessential middle of the table team. That's Splyce. They beat teams below them, they lose to teams above them, and we're seeing that demonstrated so clearly here. This may be one of Splyce's most impressive series all year, but you have to weigh that up against the fact that it is Giants, a team that is struggling, a team that has had moments of brilliance, but unfortunately not consistent enough to dig themselves out of 4th place in their group.
But when you get to see the strengths of Giants is when they do group up like this. We were talking a little bit about it earlier, the fact that they were resilient, even in their losses. Their ability to fight is actually pretty good. When they actually group up as a 5-man unit, the way in which they play fights is actually very enjoyable to watch, and they are a team that you have to give a lot of respect for, because on an individual level they are strong players. Often the reason why they lose a lot of these fights is simply because of how far behind they are by the time they get to them. But it's still a point in the game that you have to watch out for, because especially when you have a Talon who's level 13, is pretty strong now, working towards that 2nd major item, there are windows for Giants to try and claw back into it.
If we can take a look at the gold difference between lanes, it's even in the mid lane. Knight and Sencux are even on gold. And the top lane, 3,800 gold difference. In the jungle, 1,600 in favor of Splyce. Nearly 1,000 by ADC. It's just, every other lane is so far behind. Knight needs to make up for a 6,000 gold deficit. Yeah. Which is a lot to make up for, especially when you look at the base. And is that an inhibitor turret that is falling over? Why am I tripping over my words? I need to.
Trashy and Wunder, they're just grouping up as a 2-man unit, and they are constantly applying pressure. But now they're coming in for a collapse.
Okay, how do Giants escape? Hustlin will be taken down. He's unable to do so. Wunder's looking for an engage on the back end. He's already used his Dominus. Looking for a target to stun. Is going to slice forward, gets the Ruthless Predator. Backup is coming from Sencux. Shadow Assault plus collateral damage plus an Electro Harpoon. And Giants get themselves a pair of boots for now. But Hustlin died for that one. And now they're on the inner turrets.
Ends up 1 for 1, but once again, Splyce are the benefactors. They're able to get the priority on mid lane because Giants were forced through their own jungle. They had a minion wave ready to force down that mid tier 2 tower. And they're just going to extend their gold lead even further. And sure, while it is great for Giants to be able to claw something back, now Flaxxish is worth gold again. The advantage of feeding is that if you keep dying, you don't give bonus gold. But now that he's got on that kill, Wunder can just start farming him
Next level strategy. Don't get to kill if you're feeding. to be worth less than a minion.
Give your teammates them. Get the gold from assists. Get them from towers.
Well, the Electro Harpoon may have been the difference between getting the kill or not. I wasn't watching closely enough, but either way, Giants at least, as you mentioned, they're still trying and still trying to dig deep. Let's turn our attention to Splyce for a little bit because they've heavily invested in the bottom lane. Trashy and Wunder have been making Flaxxish's life just horrendous. Pushing him under his inhibitor tower over and over and over. But Splyce have not necessarily pushed deeper vision or not tried to play on the top lane or, you know, elsewhere on the map. They've been pretty committed to this like hold mid, push bottom.
Yep, I think that Splyce, that's all they need to do though, because they've seen that there's been no reaction from Giants. So why change a strategy when Giants aren't going to adapt to what you're throwing down? As the arrow comes out onto Trashy.
All right, that's maybe one of the worst targets. Flash available and the repel. I'm looking on the back end. Teleport coming down for Flaxxish. He's jumping behind the red buff.
No.
That's a slice forward. Wunder's now going to be the target. Stranglethorns will allow Giants to disengage. That's a pretty good equalizer. Shadow Assault onto Wunder, as well as some Flame Spitter. That's a kill onto Wunder. Flaxxish dies, though, in reply. 1 for 1. Knight has already used his ulti, and he's using that Assassin's Path again and again to reposition. Giants, though, 1 for 1 at this stage, this far down. It's okay, but they can't lose anything else.
And you can see that when Giants group as a 5-man unit, they do find picks. They actually find small things that can claw them back into the game. But because they're at such a big goal deficit, it is always Splyce to have the pushing power. It is always Splyce that is able to make their way towards these objectives. And on this occasion, Giants won't lose anything else. But I feel like this is going to be the repeated pattern that we see, unless Giants can win themselves some kind of miraculous fight.
Yeah, that's what Giants will be looking for. Splyce, on the other hand, this time around, they've pushed a little bit of vision up. Got a control ward in that red buff area. Actually, Hustlin just walks across it now, and he has a replay, Vedius.
But look at the coordination, the fact that they are able to come in from 2 angles. Wunder gets rooted up. A lot of the damage is just focused down onto him, but then one small stun onto Flaxxish, and then Sencux is effectively able to solo kill him, just because of the amount of gold that he has completed already. So it's a little bit difficult right now. 1 for 1 is, ooh, Knight, he's gonna go for it.
All right, let's see if he can kill Kobbe. Shadow Assault dashes over the wall. A lot of damage, but he gets the flash and the heal just for an RQ combo.
And that is a very low cooldown, 60 seconds, or 72 seconds total cooldown for that ultimate for Knight. So that's definitely gonna be ready before the summoner spells are back up for Kobbe.
Yeah, Ashe arrow flies wide. That's another flash blown. Trashy actually got stunned on the back end, and Mikyx uses his summoner spell. Giants still cannot find the tower, though. They've been trying over and over, and Wunder, somehow now he's caught to the back end. 4 members of Giants are trying to run him down. Correction, 5. Very good use of the blast cone. Wunder thinks about a re-engage. A piercing arrow destroys Giants' HP bars. Mikyx, no flash to get over the wall. Gets the slow onto Memento with the soul flare, and Kobbe snipes him from downtown. The slice, the dice, the flash, and Wunder culls the weak, meek Hustlin. Sencux is looking for a follow-up on the back end, but Giants, they lose 2.
And Giants, they thought they could turn it around onto Wunder. He was coming in from the flank. That was their window. Hey, if we just kill Wunder, we can disengage, we can keep stalling out. But Wunder buys enough time for the rest of his team to provide that support. Now Knight, he's coming in.
He is indeed. Shadow Assault just to buy some time. Remember, it's been 6 games, 4 weeks. 17 hours since Giants have got a Baron. They'll need to steal if they want to get their hands on one now, but they're running away. Flaxxish is killed on the back end. HeaQ and Knight gonna get tagged up by the Time Winder. Baron will be secured here by Splyce. Ashe arrow is dashed and flashed away from. Sencux isn't done yet. He phase dives forward. Parallel convergence will give him a shield with the help of Karma as well. Wunder's got no flash to continue the chase, and Giants, they get no Baron, they get no kills, they get nothing.
Splyce do the best they can, and they come out victorious. Very difficult for Giants to even consider contesting that Baron, especially when you don't have your jungler available. Sencux doing so much work on the backline, level 16 on that Ekko, able to win out what was effectively a 1 versus 3. Look, he just walks up, he kills Flaxxish. There's nothing he can do, and then he alone zones out both Knight and HeaQ. And we don't get to see the rest of that replay, but yeah, Sencux does a great thing where he flashes over the wall, predicting the Ashe arrow, and then he just comes in from behind HeaQ and is able to force him back. So nice back and forth from Sencux. Good series so far from him.
Yeah, pretty good indeed. Game 1, of course, showing up on that Syndra, following a couple of stuns and setting plays up, because it was the Syndra stun into an Elise Cocoon. This game round, it's the Renekton stun into Elise Cocoon, and Trashy has sort of prioritized his time between the different lanes. But again, it goes back to that story we said at the beginning of this game, Vedius, that the picks and bans don't necessarily matter. It just feels like Wunder is stronger than Flaxxish. Kobbe and Mikyx are outclassing HeaQ and Hustlin, and then as a team, you get to the mid game and Splyce just have a stronger understanding of what to do.
I think that Trashy played the early game exceptionally well, knew exactly the right lane to punish. HeaQ is yet to have a very effective arrow to net his team a win, and they're just kind of running out of time. Their base is falling apart.
So looking forward, of course, Giants have got a relatively easy strength of schedule. Over the next few weeks, they're going to be playing teams like Vitality, Origin, Roccat. That's where Giants can look to pick up some wins. But if Giants want to claw themselves out of this 4th place in the group, the safe spot, they have to win series like these ones against Splyce. They can't afford to lose more. It's week 6.
But I feel that if you're Giants, your goal right now should just be to stay in the LCS, right? Like, clearly this team has struggled to perform compared to their summer split performance. And I think they need to go back to the drawing boards, but to do that, they need to just secure their spot. And I think their goal should be, you know, not, I don't need to run faster than the bear, I just need to run faster than you, right? And with Schalke luring in the background, I think right now the priority for Giants would just be to run faster than Roccat.
Yeah, stay ahead of Roccat, of course, who's in 5th place in Group A, where Giants find themselves. Inhibitor falls down. As the rest of Splyce, they're pushing the mid lane, they're pushing the top lane. Giants looking to engage onto Wunder. Wunder's got some backup on the back end. Slices in, dices out. Chain of Corruption won't spread because it doesn't find anyone. Instantly killed as Knight is stunned in place, locked down. Wunder still alive, using that dominance to full effect. Look at that sustain on Cull the Meek. HeaQ goes down, so does Memento. Hustlin as well. Giants are just being deconstructed. Triple kill for Trashy. The inhibitors fall. So does the Nexus turret. Splyce make a statement against Giants. They take down the final Nexus turrets. And as it stands right now, Splyce destroy Giants 2-0.
I was kind of expecting a little more from Giants. I felt like that while Splyce definitely, I don't want to take anything away from them, they had an exceptional series. I just wanted Giants to fight back a little bit more. I mean, while they did stay even in terms of kills for a lot of the game, they were never in control. It never felt like they had a solid enough goal lead. It never felt like that they were able to properly contest objectives. And I think that Splyce looking promising right now, especially with their win over Fnatic. This is great for them in terms of their group. But for Giants, I didn't see much. I didn't feel like there's been much of a change from their past performances to now.
I want to jump onto the Splyce discussion as they're shaking hands with Giants. You know, the expectations on Splyce for the first 5 weeks were not met. Are you going to change your expectations on a strong win against Giants? No, that's not the fair thing to do. But this is an optimistic series. This is a confidence, a momentum building series for Splyce. And I want to watch them continue over the next 4 weeks.
If you're a Splyce fan, this is what you want to see from the team, right? Like, dominant victory over a team that is below you in the standings.
Yes.
And the fact that they've already beaten Fnatic, they won't play Fnatic again now. It's now back to in-house group after week 7.
Yep.
And so their focus should just be on to be as dominant as they can before they have to go up against the big dogs like H2K, like UOL again.
Vedius, Giants got beaten that game. Giants didn't take a single tower. That is the 4th time this split that Giants have not taken a single tower. It has only happened 9 times this split. 4 of them have been obliterations against Giants. They are now running out of time to fix things, and I think, as you said, their sights have to be on the likes of Schalke, who are looking absolutely terrifying, because if Giants continue this trend and fall behind Roccat, they're in the promotion tournament.
Yep, and no one wants to be there. It is advantageous that now only 2 teams are sent to the promotion tournament rather than 3 from previous splits, but that does mean that you still have to work hard for it. Their series going up against Roccat, which I believe is coming in the next few weeks for Giants, and teams like Origin and Vitality, those games are important. It is so big. I know next week in particular is a big weekend.
Vitality and Origin, that's who Giants play. Then week 8, they play Roccat.
So like the next few games are super important for those bottom
that cements Giants in 4th place. That gets in that safe spot that allows them to buy time for summer. It's just a disappointment because Giants, they had this upward trajectory in 2016, you know, and maybe that is because some of the other teams are starting to struggle, of course. You have to weigh that up, but it's just disappointing. Now for Splyce, on the other hand, they had a great game. I'm
they did.
Excited to see some of these picks working out. Wunder looked fantastic on the Nile, looked fantastic on the Renekton. If he's finding his footing on 7.4, where I'm hearing there's more carries coming back, that's a good sign for Splyce, surely.
It really is. And Trashy, again, we have to echo, his early game was better. He wasn't a
Couldn't have
kill.
gotten much worse.
It wasn't a kill madness. He wasn't getting kills left, right, and center. He wasn't snowballing on his laners, but he was utilizing the pressure from his laners effectively. He was setting up good vision. And that's a promising sign for the jungler who has, for a while now, struggled to have an impact in the early game.
mean, Trashy's average gold difference at 15 was about -380, right? So in most of his games, he was behind in gold against his opponent. In game 1, he was still at -350, but his lanes won the game forward. Now game 2, he found those dives, he found those picks, he's turning it around. But we need to see Trashy continue that growth. We'll see if he can next week. For now, though, we're going to head over to the caster couch where Pyro is sitting with Mikyx and Sencux.